Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. This list is absolutely nuts, by the way. Wimbledon Power Rankings. This is our final Wimbledon Power Rankings that we did. Before anyone gets crazy, because on the ATP video, people are like, what are you doing? What are these rankings? The rankings that first show up on screen are not the final US Open Power Rankings. Those US Open Power Rankings we're going to work through in this video, and by the end, we'll have our US Open Power Rankings. So if you're really impatient, then scroll towards the end, but I think you'll be pleased with the video if you watch along. So before we get into it, though, remember to that like button, do subscribe if you're new, and do leave a rating or review if you're listening on a podcast platform. Okay, so you can see here, this was our Wimbledon power rankings before the start of the tournament, and I mean, it's pretty crazy because it's going to look very, very different as we do our US Open one. Now, I think we can just should we just get rid of all of this? I think we can. They're just outside, to be honest with you. I mean, maybe we can leave a couple of people here. I mean, maybe Zhang Xinwen might still be there, to be honest with you. She's looked pretty good as well. But yeah, we'll start working through it. Okay, before we do get into it, though, I want to make a couple of notes because some people as well have been saying in the comment section for the ATP one, like, what is this? What are these rankings? Like, how do you have this person above this person? These power rankings are solely based upon form. Well, actually, you know what? That's a bit of a lie. It's not solely based upon form, but that is the biggest factor of them all, is form. That's the factor that I'm looking for the most out of everything. So the biggest factor is current form, tournaments they've played recently, especially in the US Open Series, of course. And then we take into account as two factors that aren't quite as important, but we do still factor them in to some degree, is prior results at the Slam, so US Open in this instance, and then also looking at their form this year on the whole, right? So just bear that in mind when watching this. This is more a form guide, so of the top 10 most informed players going into the US Open. If you want to know my predictions for the US Open and you want my preview and my thoughts and analysis on specific players, we have two separate types of videos coming out this week that you can look to. One is contender profiles, which will be player specific, and then one that is also the draw preview and prediction video, which is where I go through my bracket and I go through each and every match. That will probably be out tomorrow late Thursday UK time, or early Friday morning, depending on when the draw comes out, which is on their website, which is very, very strange. Okay, let's get into the power rankings then. So it's a bit of an interesting one because on the ATP side, I felt it was very easy. With 1 and 2, you had Djokovic, Alcaraz, but on the women's side, it's not actually as straightforward as that. The two Masters 1000 tournaments were split in terms of winners between Jessica Pegula in Montreal and Coco Gauff in Cincinnati. We also had some pretty good results and, I guess, runs from certain players. For example, Muchova played some really good tennis. She made the final of Cincinnati. Sabalenka again, she's making runs in tournaments, but hasn't been able to win a tournament in a few months now. Ons Jabeur, she had a little bit of a comeback, which is nice to see. She's obviously she's a finalist from last year. And then Swiatek, who's the reigning champion, she had some solid results in Canada semi-final, Cincinnati semi-final, lost to two Americans. So you know what? She's also up there. She's up there, right? And we're going to have to discuss whether she deserves to be at number one. And I think she might be, and I'll tell you why. So if we look at the other players, the players that we're probably going to have in contention for that number one spot, you talk about Rybakina, so semi-finals of Canada, lost to Samsonova. Cincinnati, she lost in the round of 16. She was injured, to be fair. I had to factor that in a little bit. Jabeur quarterfinal in Cincinnati, lost to Sabalenka. She didn't play Montreal. Sabalenka in Montreal made the round of 16, lost to Samsonova. Shouldn't have lost that one. And then semi-finals of Cincinnati, lost to Muchova, who she clearly has an issue with playing because she lost to her in a thriller, of course, at Roland Garros. And then we'll talk about Muchova as well. She made the final of Cincinnati, round of 16 in Canada, but she lost to Swiatek. And I do think, and this is another factor, which is more of a kind of hidden clause factor, is we need to look into not only, okay, these are results that these players have achieved, but who they've beaten as well. Because I think that's quite important. Because if they've beaten players who they expected to beat and there aren't any big wins there and they've made a semi final, that's not as impressive to me as someone who, say, made a quarterfinal or round of 16, and they've actually beaten some really good players and the person they've lost to has gone on to win it, for example. So there's going to be a little bit of calculating going on. But I think number one, I mean, Swiatek semifinals in Canada, lost to Pegula. She beat Pliskova, Muchova, Collins. Lost to Pegula in 3 sets, 6-4 in the third, even. Then beat Collins, Zheng Xinwen in 3 sets. Zheng Xinwen plays some really good tennis. Vondrousova, again, like very, very solid player. Just won Wimbledon as well. She's in good form, and then also lost to Coco Gauff in the semi-finals, again 6-4 in the third. Vondrousova was an interesting one. We may as well discuss her. Round of 16 in Canada, quarterfinals in Cincinnati. Round of 16 in Canada, she'd beaten Sharif Wozniacki, lost to Coco Gauff 6-3, 6-love, pretty comprehensive. Cincinnati, Siniakova win, Potapova, Sloane Stevens, who's been in some decent form as well, and then obviously lost to Swiatek. Sloane Stevens is a bit of a sleeper for me because she is playing Maria Andreeva, by the way, in Cleveland this week, which is going to be a great match. But she beat Cocciaretto and Garcia in Cincinnati. Garcia was the reigning champion, although she's been in, let's say, some pretty up and down form. Beat Kalinina and then lost to Rybakina in Canada in the round of 16. City Open, round of 16, round of 32, even lost in the first round. So some solid victories, but nothing to really kind of shout about. Then if we talk about the two winners of the Masters 1000 tournaments, Gauff made the quarterfinals in Canada and lost to Pegula. In the City Open, she made the final and won the final. So she won the final against Sakkari. Then in Canada made the quarterfinals, Cincinnati won. So she's won a lot of events. She's going to be up there, right? I mean, she has to be up there, I think. Maria Sakkari, talking of her, she hasn't had the best time of it this year. She's been very up and down as well. Sakkari, round of 16, Cincinnati lost to Muchova. She also has had issues with Muchova as well. Collins lost her in the first round in Canada. City Open, of course, made the final there. Pegula, Cincinnati, round of 16, lost to Buzkova, but I think there's a bit of a hangover, to be fair to her, from the Canada win, where she had some really good wins there. City Open, lost in the semi-finals to Sakkari. This is going to be tough, isn't it? This is going to be really tough. I think I know who my number one's going to be. After that, there's some really good results here from a lot of players. City Open for Danielle Collins, by the way, lost first round, quarterfinals of Canada. Very close to beating Swiatek, by the way. She beat Bouchard, Bektas, Svitolina, Sakkari, Collins, Fernandez, and then lost to Swiatek. Lost to Swiatek in Cincinnati after beating Pavlyuchenko, but she got destroyed by Swiatek 6-1, 6-love. I mean, it wasn't even close, to be fair. After a really impressive, performance against the week before, so it's a bit strange. Look, I mean, Swiatek is going to be number one, and I'll tell you why. Because she's made 2 straight semi-finals in Cincinnati and in Canada. In Poland, she also won. It was a hard court tournament. I guess you could say it wasn't as high a level as the City Open, to be fair, but it's still a win, I guess, and it just shows that she's still managing to beat players. And the players that she did beat in Canada, Pliskova, Muchova, Collins, already good, lost to Pegula. She went on to win it. Then she beat Collins, Zheng, Xinwen, Vondrousova, again, really good opponents. Then lost to Coco Gauff, who went on to win it. So she lost to the 2 eventual winners. Like, fine. So Swiatek, number 1 for me. And number 2 is where it gets interesting, because I think there's really 2 players in contention. And again, you have to bear in mind these are form rankings, mainly based on form. Swiatek, we've said it number 1. Number 2, this is where it gets interesting, because I think it has to be between Gauff and Pegula, and I'll tell you why. Gauff won the City Open, right, beating Baptiste, Bencic, Samsonova, and Sakkari. That's a pretty good run. Canada quarterfinals, beat Katie Bolter, beat Vondrousova, lost to Pegula in 3 sets, lost 7-5 in that final set. Very, very close. Pegula went on to win it, of course. Then Cincinnati beat Sharif, Noskova, Paolini. Okay, not the best opponents, but then beat Swiatek, which is a massive win. Her first win in 8 matches played between the two, if I'm not mistaken. And beat Muchova, who was playing some really good tennis. So, okay. Then you got Pegula, semi-finals of the City Open, beat Stern, Svitolina, lost to Sakkari. Canada won it, beating Potenseva, Paolini, Gauff, Swiatek, Samsonova, Cincinnati, Trevisan, Pegula, lost to Buzkova. Okay, I think we're going to go Coco Gauff at number 2. She's been in great form, and that's what these rankings are all about. Her forehand looks to have been somewhat fixed. I think the addition of Brad Gilbert's clearly been a real positive influence as well in the camp. So, real positive vibes coming from there. For number 3, I think we've got to put Pegula there, don't we, really? I think we have to be fair. She's just won Montreal, semi-finals of City Open. Cincinnati, I'm not going to read into that too much. So we'll go Pegula. Then number 4 and 5 is where it starts to get interesting now. I think we have to start looking towards your Rybakinas, your Jabeurs, your Sabalenkas. I don't think Jabeur is going to be there. Sabalenka, even Muchova as well. Cincinnati final, Canada round of 16, lost to Swiatek. Poland Open, she lost round of 16 though, to be fair. Rybakina, Canadian Open semi-final. Cincinnati had to retire. I'm more erring on going and leaning towards Rybakina, mainly just because, again, this is not on who I think is going to have the best chance at the tournament. She might still be injured going into the US Open or have a niggle. But given that she was injured against Paolini and she'd won the first set, and she just beat Ostapenko in the first one, which is a tough match, by the way, beating Brady, Stevens, Kasatkina in a really tight match, by the way, and then losing to Samsonova in the semi-finals, won the first set there, and she had some really long matches in Canada. I think we have to go for Rybakina because the level, I think, has been good from Rybakina when she's been playing, when she's been fit, that is. So Rybakina at 4 for me. And also, we have to start looking at Samsonova because she lost the first round of Cincinnati, but she made the final of Canada. City Open, even semi-final. So she's going to be there or thereabouts, I think. We'll talk about her in a second, but she's a very, very solid player, and I'm glad that she's had a bit of a breakthrough in the last few weeks. She's a very good player. Okay, if we then look at Sabalenka, I think this is where we then start to cater in the results from this year a little bit and also from last year and how they've looked last year. Like Sabalenka, in the semi-finals of the US Open last year, she should have beaten Swiatek in my opinion in the semi-finals. She was up a break in the deciding set, deep into that deciding set as well. Also, she's won the Australian Open this year. Although the early indicators are that the court's going to be slower than last year, it's still going to be fast or medium to fast, if that makes sense in terms of speed. Last, I think, was unusually fast for the US Open, that is. But it will be slower than the Australian Open, but still relatively quick. Sabalenka has been very, very solid this year. She won the Australian Open, which is a breakthrough, but then she's been a lot of semi-finals, some quarterfinals as well. And I have a feeling that she's going to be solid again. Now, does that mean that she goes on to win it? I don't know. We'll see what the draw brings up. But Cincinnati semi-finals, again, lost to Muchova in 3, but she beat Jabeur, Kasatkina, and Lee on the way to losing to Muchova. And the Canadian Open lost to Samsonova, who went on to make the final. So there's no real shame in that. So I think we can put Sabalenka at 5. Right, this is where it starts to get interesting because from 6 downwards, it's kind of a who's who. I was looking at Kasatkina just now, and she's had some solid results. Round of 16, lost to Svitolina, quarterfinal in Canada, lost to Rybakina. Cincinnati round of 16. So she's kind of solidly there, and lost to Sabalenka. Fine. Madison Keys won quarterfinal in the City Open. She's probably going to be just outside. Zheng should win round of 16. Cincinnati lost to Swiatek. Canada lost to Samsonova City Open, lost to Madison Keys. Samsonova City Open semi-final, Canadian Open. She made the final. She beat Rybakina, Bencic, Sabalenka, Zheng, Siniakova. I mean, I think she's got to be at 6 for me. I think she's got to be at 6 for me. I think I'd be crazy not to put her at least in my top 10. And then if you look at these results and who she's beaten, she's playing some good tennis. We've got to reward that, surely. Okay, who else? So Vondrousova's also had a pretty solid run the last two Masters 1000 tournaments. Beat Sharif and Wozniacki, lost to Gauff in the round of 16 in Canada. Quarterfinals of Cincinnati, beat Siniakova, Potapova, Stevens, lost to Swiatek. I mean, the people she's beating, though, are not the highest of level, it has to be said. So I wonder whether we need to put her in there yet. If I look at Muchova, she beat Sabalenka, Buzkova, Sakkari, Haddad Meyer, by the way, who very dangerous. That was a great win, I thought, in 3 sets. It was a really, really good match. And I think Muchova, Canada beat Potapova, Castella, lost to Swiatek in 3 sets. That was the match where it was raining on and off, and last set was 6-4, very, very close. I'm going to go for Muchova at 7. I think Muchova at 7 is a solid, solid choice. Now, we had Kasatkina at 8 at Wimbledon rankings, and I think she might actually be okay to slip in there. Let's see. I mean, round of 16 Cincinnati, Gracheva, Stearns beat both of them, and that's not great wins. Mertens, Blinkova, Buzkova quarterfinal in Canada. Lost to Rybakina in a deciding set 10-8. That's unlucky. Round of 16 City Open, lost to Svitolina. I think we'll put Jabeur at 8. She's only played one tournament, which was the Cincinnati Masters. She beat Kalinina and Vekic, although there's a walkover there. Lost to Sabalenka. But also, I think this is where we take into account the more minor factors. She made the final last year. She is just coming off the Wimbledon final loss, and she's clearly really hungry for it. I think she's going to be there or thereabouts, at least making a run. Although it really does depend on the draw, in all honesty. But number 9, Kasatkina, I think that's pretty fair. And then I think we've got to put Vondrousova in there. I think we've got to put Vondrousova in there, I think, to be honest with you, because she'll come right at the end. But quarterfinal in Cincinnati and round of 16 in Canada. And the two people she lost to, Coco Gauff and Swiatek. I mean, Coco Gauff has won one of the tournaments, and Swiatek, semi-finals in both. So no real shame in that, in all honesty. In terms of the people just outside, and there's a few. I mean, Zheng Xinwen will keep her in just outside. She showed a real flash against Swiatek in that opening set in the Cincinnati Masters in the round of 16, and she ended up losing 3-6, 6-1, 6-1. That first set, yes, Swiatek didn't play great level, but Zheng did. Now, she dropped her level in the second and third sets, so Swiatek took over. I think she couldn't really handle her, but she's had some close matches with the world number 1 in the past, and you almost feel like if she gets a win over someone like a Swiatek, that will be a real trampoline moment for her career, and it'll really catapult her into kind of a rich vein of form. And I just feel like she's missing that marquee victory at the moment, that real marquee victory. Canada, she lost to Samsonova, who went on to make the final, beat Kostyuk in the first round, who was playing some good tennis at the time. City Open lost to Madison Keys, no real shame in that. Madison Keys, I think she's got a lot of power. I think someone was saying the other day, I think it was Jessica Pegula was saying that Madison Keys has been recorded as having the biggest forehand on tour, which I'm a little bit surprised by. I thought it would have been someone like Sabalenka, but clearly she's been playing Yeah, she's been crunching the ball, in all honesty, which is, yeah, pretty cool to hear. Haddad Mayer, round of six. I mean, lost in the first round to Muchova in Cincinnati. Canada Open, lost in the second round to Fernandez. I think Sakkari's got to be there. City Open final. She beat Fernandez, Keys, Pegula, all good wins. Canada Open, yes, she lost to Collins in the first round, but then round of 16 in Cincinnati, so she can be just outside. I think is probably fair. And then if we put, what did Daniel Collins do? Cincinnati, second round. Canada Open quarterfinals. City Open round of 32. Yeah, Collins is just outside for me as well. Madison Keys, quarterfinal City Open, beat Jen Brady and Zhang Xinwen. Canadian Open, walkover, she was injured, but beat Venus Williams in the first round. First round loss to Cincinnati. I mean, you can put it just outside as well. Keys. And Haddad Mayer. I mean, no, I don't think she should be there. Let's check out some of the players that I have interest in as well that I think should be doing pretty well, but maybe haven't been doing as well they should have been doing. Leylah Fernandez. Okay, so wow, in Cleveland she's cleaning up at the moment, but quarterfinals there. Qualifiers lost in the first round, Cincinnati qualifiers. Canadian Open round of 16, beat Stearns, Haddad Mayer, lost to Collins. City Open round of 16. Okay, Gracheva, Bolter, Pera, lost to Sakkari. I mean, fine. We can put it just outside. I think that's fine. So one's to watch, I guess. Someone that I thought would have had a really good go of it, by the way, is Bianca Andreescu, because I've been pretty optimistic about her chances, but she hasn't really done much, in all honesty. She really hasn't, and it's been a little bit disappointing to see because she withdrew from Cincinnati, which is fine, but cast doubts on her US Open participation and lost in the first round to Camila Giorgi in Canada. City Open lost the first round to Kostyuk. So I think she's been struggling with back issues, and if she has, that's always really difficult to deal with, in honesty. Camila Giorgi, by the way, as well, qualified Cincinnati, lost Canada Open, lost Kvitova, Poland Open, nothing there. Just trying to see whether there's anyone that I've missed. I'm sure I have. Yeah, I mean, Kvitova ran a 16, beat Giorgi, lost to Bencic. Bencic has had some decent moments the last few months and weeks. Quarterfinal in City Open, quarterfinal in Canada, beat Alicia Parks and Kvitova. Cincinnati lost the first one to Buxa, which is a random loss, but yeah, she can be just outside as well, I think. Well, that's pretty fair. She's probably actually very close to making her way into the top 10. Right, that's my list. I think I'm pretty happy with that. Let me know in the comment section below what you have picked as your power rankings now. Try and use the same rules that I have used rather than saying, I think this person's going to win, so they're number one. But yeah, in terms of my US Open power rankings, final power rankings going into the last Grand Slam of the year, I've got Swiatek at 1, Coco Gauff at 2, winner of Cincinnati. Number 3, Pegula, winner of Montreal. Number 4, Rybakina. Number 5, Sabalenka. Number 6, Samsonova. Number 7, Muchova. Number 8, Jabeur. Number 9, Kasatkina. And number 10, Vondrousova. Just outside to players I think maybe a little bit unfortunate, some of them to miss out, but also, I think they've been in solid form. Honorable mentions: Zhang Xinwen, Sakkari, Collins, Madison Keys, Fernandez, Leylah Fernandez, that is, and Belinda Bencic. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Remember to that like button. Do subscribe if you're new, and do leave a rating or review if you're listening on a podcast platform. We will see you very, very soon.